Hey guys, Tom Davidson, Landon Hutchison back with Yard Work. Today we have CJ from Diamond Kinetics, one of our partners. Wanted to get you on here as quickly as we could. Obviously, thanks for letting us steal part of your morning. Can you kind of give us a little bit about your history and then maybe what DK does, and then we'll kind of jump in from there.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you guys, having me and having us on today. Little background and history on Diamond Kinetics. So we're Pittsburgh-based company. We came out of the University of Pittsburgh and the University of Michigan, we are solely focused on baseball and softball. We're a motion technology company, so we can capture and quantify motion, right? We do that in a couple of different ways. We do that on the bat with a tiny little bat sensor that can go on the knob or in the knob. It allows us to measure everything that's happening with the swing. And then we can do that with the ball as well, right? So we now have sensor-enabled baseballs and softballs that we call Pitch Tracker that allows us to measure and track the pitching and throwing motion and what's happening with that ball. So we take all that data and we then turn around and use that in our mobile apps to be able to provide, first and foremost, the data itself, some visual and analysis and assessment feedback, and then ultimately, work to then provide instructional content and tools that can be used to take that information and work to improve, work to get better. And at the end of the day, our goal is that we want to work really hard to help players get better and get better faster and as efficiently as possible. And so, we work up and down the games of baseball and softball. We have a number of pro clubs as customers and partners, but we go all the way down to the youth ranks. And that's one of the unique aspects and elements of the technology is it's very accessible and usable kind of up and down the games.
So the two products, the pitch tracker, the swing tracker, what's probably the most popular one? And then what kind of data are you guys pulling from that these guys can really utilize and maybe help either improve their swing or, get to that next level?
Yeah, I don't know that there's one that's necessarily more popular than the other, because obviously they do different things. There's been a lot of excitement over the course of the last, year and a half, 2 years as we've brought the smart balls into the market. There's more hitters than pitchers, right? So, just from a volume perspective, we tend to see, more bat sensors because you have an entire team that will have sensors. But we're pretty excited about all of them, right? Depending on who you are, right? As a pitcher or a hitter. And in many cases, we have a lot of people that buy our bundles, of both the bat sensor and a smart ball together, if you're a pitcher and a hitter. From a data perspective, we can go way deep down into the data, right? And we literally do track every aspect of what's happening with a swing or a throw. What we try to do with that then is give that to you in some layers, right? So, not everybody either needs or can consume like the in-depth of everything that we can provide. It's there for those that want it, but we kind of try to put some of that under the hood and use it more to provide insights and feedback, right? So on the hitting side of things, last fall we rolled out one of the more exciting things that we've done in our time as a company, what we call a swing fingerprint. And it's the ability now with the volume of data that we have and working closely with some of our pro team clubs and partners from an R&D perspective, really got an understanding of how to think about the swing with pitch location in mind, with your hitting zone. And we can effectively now give you a great hot and cold zone, strength and weakness representation of your swing that is built on the backs of data and information. So you have to have that to do it, but it's not all just kind of metrics.
Right.
So if I'm a parent and I'm interested in this, is the data, because a lot of people would probably be scared because there's a lot of numbers and they're just not really sure, how to use it. Does it kind of coach you in a way as well? So if I'm a person that's never used it before, I don't know what spin rate is, I don't know what hand speed is or anything, does it kind of teach you along the way?
It does. We're farther along on that front in hitting because we've been doing hitting longer. Pitching is, we're getting closer to that as we better understand it. On the hitting side, Things like swing fingerprint are a good example of that. We can translate that into a summary type report from a strengths and weaknesses and what to work on. And then we do provide instructional content. So we do that through a partnership with USA Baseball. There's going to be more of that coming. Actually, within our kind of whole at-home and play-at-home environment, we're doing more and more there and more quickly to provide some of that it's right here for you instructional content and feedback. And everywhere that we can, we try to weave that together with the data and the metrics, right? So all the USA Baseball content that we have in the app on the hitting side also, it give you a drill in what we're working on, but it also tells you, hey, these are the metrics that this would most, that this drill focuses on the most. Here's the things to be able to look at and use in the 3D view when you're working on this particular skill. So yeah, we absolutely try to cross those over so that you're not left on sort of the left hanging with just the data. And I think that is a challenge in the market. I mean, that's certainly a need. It's, we call it, working to answer the now what question, right? So I think a lot of people have answered, the consent. There's a lot of support at this point for what we would call the so what question, right? Which is like, so what? Should I have the data? I think there's a lot of support that, it really is helpful. And it gives you visibility and insight and objective information that you can use, but then it leaves you with the now what question. And I think that's the one that, we're pretty intently focused on and have been for some time.
So I think a lot of people look at a product like this and figure out this is measuring it, and it's going to tell us maybe some of where the flaws are in our swing, where maybe some of your weaknesses are. And then a lot of these USA Baseball drills that you guys have partnered with have that ability to maybe strengthen some of those areas that they're struggling in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's we try to shorten the loop, if you will, right? So if we can get to a point where we can use some data to kind of understand where the improvement areas would be, and guys know this too. I mean, everybody's a little different, right? It's not, and I think one of the most, I won't, call it surprising, but illuminating things for us with swing fingerprint is that as we were going through this exercise at the highest levels of the game, there is so much difference there. You see these fingerprints are kind of different for almost every player. They're pretty unique. And so if you have that and you can use that and figure that out a little more quickly, then you can get into the instruction change feedback loop much more quickly. And I think that's one of the places that we certainly see that we do and can provide value is like, hey, let's get there faster, and then let's be able to kind of measure and monitor as we're making changes to see if it's working.
Is there a subscription as well, or if I buy the sensor, is it immediately ready and we're good to go?
Answer is yes to both.
Okay.
So we have portions of what we provide in the app from a metrics perspective, from a analysis perspective, and a feature perspective that are associated with a subscription. But there's also much of the app that is, free, if you will, or comes with using the sensor or the product that you purchased. And so it really kind of depends on how much you want out of that. So it's a yes to both. You can definitely use many aspects of what we do and provide and get a lot of information just using the product in the app, and then you can subscribe. In the current environment that we're in, and that this has been a big part of our Play at Home initiative. We initially basically are offering 3 months of our premium subscription service to everyone. And then USA Baseball last week kind of came over the top, if you will, and in collaboration with us added another 3 months to that. So we're at a point now where anybody, you can do this on our website today. You just basically put a 6-month free subscription into your cart, and that opens the premium aspects of our software across the board in any or both of our products for 6 months. And we're trying to do anything that we can to be supportive of the environment that we're in at home, whether that's from how we structure our pricing and our services to the features and new things that are coming over the next week or two that are very, very specifically pointed more at the, hey, we're at home, we're in a little more isolation, we're not with our team, use some things that would be a little bit more fun in all of this too. And so that all starts to roll out next week on the product side of things, but we're trying to do everything that we can. And we've had great support from, partners like USA Baseball and Perfect Game and others to help kind of rally around this concept of, hey, let's do what we can while everybody's at home.
Yeah, we went through the that Play at Home initiative. Can you kind of touch base on maybe what all that entails for everybody? They can find this on the website, obviously, but I think it's a pretty cool concept for sure.
Yeah, we feel like we have a product that, this comes from a personal place for me. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. I'm living it every single day. And, I have my parent hat on. I have my, coach their team's hat on too. And it's like, hey, listen, anything I can do to get them active, and it doesn't have to be around, something intense that's like, hey, we got to really get into, this particular instructional area. Like, I just want them, running around and being active and swinging a bat and throwing a ball, right? And so we felt like there was an opportunity for our technology to help there, and we can help if it's instructional based, and that's where you'll see starting next week we'll roll out using some of the instructional content from our partnership with USA Baseball, but also with some others that are coming on board, kind of play at home and instructional or activity programs. But at the same time, we're also going to roll out, fun things like virtual home run derbies and kind of game and leaderboard type things that are just kind of trying to promote some level of activity. And so with that in mind, we felt like we had a tool that can be helpful in this situation to parents, to players, and to coaches, right? So if, high school teams are separated at this point, like ways that you can kind of try to stay engaged, stay connected with your team. And so, we built the concept of the Play at Home initiative around that and said, well, what can we do to reduce some financial barriers, to help try to, bring some additional resources to the table? And that's where partners started coming into the equation. And so being able to work with some of the partners that we have has provided more resources, more tools, more access for longer periods of time. And that's given, it's really has kind of bubbled into this really exciting thing where there are now, there's a lot going on the baseball and softball resource pages on our sites, like lots of new content developing. And, it's as a baseball guy and somebody who cares about the game a lot on a lot of different levels. It's been exciting to see, some of the rallying around this. It's been great working with various partners. Our team is kind of going around the clock, like trying to do everything that we can to be helpful here. And so, we're going to keep at it as long as we need to in this to try to keep adding more, whether that's from a feature perspective, whether it's different things that we, try to do with partners, to just try to do our part and do the best we can through what's a challenging situation for everybody.
Yeah, I think we're all really looking for some sort of competitive piece going on right now. We got only so much Netflix we can get through.
I feel like my 7-year-old will compete with same thing. He's looking for anything. He's like, I can throw this stick that far. How far can you throw? It's like, oh man, dude, everybody's looking for something.
I think now's a time more than ever probably to invest in something like this. So what are the price points of each of the products? And being that you're getting 6 months free for the premium subscription, what would the subscription be for an annual cost as well?
Yeah, so we've taken $10 across the board off of all of our hardware products, and so those are $89.99 at this point. And then on the software side of things, typically our premium hitter subscription is $4.99 a month. Our premium pitcher subscription is $9.99 a month. So those are obviously multiply each of those by 6 to get an idea of what we're providing on the software side of things. And again, that half of that is coming in collaboration and support from USA Baseball.
So is there a major difference between what you guys are doing versus maybe what some of the competitors are doing that may set you guys apart from those?
Listen, I think we have, especially as it relates to play at home, we have our approach on what we're trying to do from an at-home experience perspective. And I think that there's some real differences there just in terms of what we, provide in app and some of what we're doing with instructional partners and content.
Yeah, I like the instructional piece. I think it's a no-brainer because a lot of people get a product like this and then, yeah, I can see my swing path. What do I do? I mean, where am I failing? How do I get to that next point? I think that's a very key part, especially during this downtime where these guys have more time than ever to really work on their craft and get it to the right spot.
Yeah, so I think there's differences there. There's ways that we're able to kind of collaborate with the partners that we have in some unique ways, for the benefit of the player and the parent and the coach. Because all we do is baseball and softball. So, being somebody who can provide, tools and information and feedback both for hitting and for pitching, we think is unique to us. So, we're just focused consistently on listening to, what we hear from our customers, from the market, working with our partners to try to build the best products and experiences for as many of them as we can.
You guys are with a lot of universities as well. Have they been using these products for recruiting aspects as well?
We don't formally provide any specific recruiting services to the collegiate partners that we work with. We don't open data up specifically to them. We work with a number of scouting and recruiting services where our data does flow and feed in. So whether that is, with USA Baseball and MLB through their PDP, prospect development pipeline program, whether it's the work we do with Perfect Game, Baseball and Softball Factory. So our approach has been, more of that we will enable our data on the amateur side kind of flowing through those partner organizations. And on the NCAA side of things, we're much more, I think, of a player development partner there. And, the programs that we work with, that's certainly been more of our focus with them is, hey, we'll work with you. How do we embed this throughout your team? How do you build a program around it? What does the fall look like versus what does the spring look like? Certainly this data is being used in scouting and recruiting environments, and our data is sort of everywhere from that perspective, through the organizations I mentioned. But for us as a company, we know that's an important piece of the puzzle, if you will, but we're more focused on our ability to provide experiences and provide kind of the instructional get better components of this. And we'll support and work with those that their expertise is in scouting and recruiting.
Do you guys have a kind of a vision on what the next platform is, the next level of what you guys are doing from the tech side?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go too far into sort of the down the road roadmap. We're continuing to just look at ways. I think it's more around how you can apply and use data than anything else. I don't. It's probably not about more data. It's interpretation, analysis, evaluation, kind of threading the pieces together where you kind of mentioned that loop, right? Like how can we consistently get, into that loop where, we're providing the level of feedback that translates to sort of your physical activity and it was kind of that convergence of physical and digital. And so, we're constantly looking for, where we think there are opportunities at either improvements to the existing technology, collaborations, additions in ways that, make everything either easier to use, more understandable, more applicable. And we're going to continue down that road. So ways that we think that there are places where, this plus that could equal a more usable and valuable solution to a player, parent, or coach. We're absolutely going to explore those.
Yeah, I think we enjoy the measurable side of a lot of things with baseball. I mean, we're starting to do so much data collection at our events, whether we're keeping score through one of the apps that does that stuff. We have somebody at every field doing that. We're capturing player velos and, exit velocities, things like that. And I know we have you guys coming to a couple of our events this summer, just from a showcase side, so we can get more swing analysis, stuff like that. I think sports has gone so much in that direction from a data collection, but I mean, you can get all the stats you want and all the measurables. It's, what do you do with it after that?
Yeah, and I think if our goal certainly is that next level, right? Like if we get to we certainly don't want to just be a radar gun for your bat, and we want to be able to provide the that's step one, right? As you have objective information to use, then you have that as a foundation. But that's a building block, and then you've got to build off of that to be able to say, okay, well, now what do we do with it, and certainly that's where we're going to continue to stay focused.
Yeah, I think a piece like this, whether it's the pitch technology or the hitting technology, can be very vital, especially now. I mean, you can put a tee up and just take some hacks and you're your self-coach. I mean, it's literally telling you exactly what you're doing. There's no wrong, no way of saying, hey, that this thing's wrong. No, it's right. It's literally telling you what you're doing. So I think it would be cool too if you have a couple of your buddies that have one of these and, like you said, do a home run derby, or hey, I hit my hand speed was this today. See if you can beat it. That'll help bring that competitive nature back for ball.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I mean, we have you can create leaderboards in our software, and so it's been fun to watch over the last few weeks. I mean, you get teams who are just kind of starting to do that stuff on their own, and we're seeing stuff on social media where, hey, here's our week one swing challenge leader, and for a lot of teams, it's you don't have to do that around the metric. You can, right? But in a lot of cases, most of the ones we're seeing is just, let's just encourage going out and hitting. It's like who's taking swings this week and how many, and so totally agree. I mean, we're much more cautious with that on the throwing side, right? So we don't have leaderboards for like who threw the most pitches this week. But on the hitting side, we do have those as tools and features that are available. We're going to do more with things like that in the app. We're having sort of national swing challenge competitions that just rolled out with Perfect Game this week on in just trying to promote activity, so totally agree. And you can take that all the way down to just the individual team level and say, hey, we're just going to do a little team challenge, team leaderboard, and gives you a way to keep kids connected with each other, keep the coach connected in some ways, and try to promote having a little fun while you're doing it.
How many players are actively using that? I know you guys can only see so much as far as if they have the subscription or something like that, but how much of the products out there on the swing side? And then do you guys find that they're utilizing the most of that app as they possibly can? I know, every time you get a new piece of technology, you can only really uncover maybe 30 or 40% of what it actually does, and you're missing out on maybe some of the perks and benefits of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a real thing and challenge for everybody that develops software. And I think there's certainly areas that we see where we're like, we got to do a better job getting people to some things that, those that get there realize that they're really helpful and valuable. I'll give you an example on the pitching side, right? Like we can, and we're going to do a better job helping people, know that we have bullpen, development and assignment and management tools and charting capabilities in the app. But, sometimes you don't navigate yourself there in the ways that, we think sometimes as we devise it and build it out. So I think that's, again, I think it's a focus for every company that builds, software and technology. It's good because you do end up with, information and analytics that help you make those decisions. And, we're certainly continuing to invest in those areas as we think about, and, as you have more information, you have more users, you have more swings, you have more data, then you can use that to inform your product development decisions too. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we're further building out a product team, at DK. And a lot of that is pointed at, okay, well, now we have a lot of information to work with, and how do we take that and use it to build the next iteration and kind of generation of products.
Have you seen people using these sensors in game as well as like maybe in a fall ball game or something like that, like universities? Because I know that at our university, we want to try and make our swing as efficient as possible, but it doesn't always translate from practice to game. So have you seen people using them?
I would say that the industry is sort of midstream on kind of rule and regulatory change as it relates to using, sensor technology in games. And so, Major League Baseball has actually been a leader there, right? So we're approved for in-game use in bat and on bat in game at every level of minor league baseball. And it was really kind of getting at exactly what you said right there, which is, you really do want to try to understand and evaluate what's happening in the game and compare sometimes what those differences are. We all know that, kind of repetition on a tee is one thing, moving to the ball moving is a different thing. The ball moving at game speed is a third thing. And then actually, your hands tightening up and gripping the bat in an actual game is the fourth one, right? So the ability to see data across that spectrum is very interesting and valuable to people. There's a wide range of leagues where it has been approved in game. I think that's going to continue to be a trend. At the NCAA level, certainly, that's a fall kind of thing, right? It's a fall thing. It's a scrimmage thing versus an in-game thing. But I think we certainly think the trend will continue to move in that direction. And certainly as people understand, and we get it. I mean, I certainly understand that you have to understand the safety aspects, and is there any impact from a player safety perspective? You have to understand bat performance and any changes to how a bat performs. And then you have to understand and make sure that there is kind of data integrity, if you will, right? So I'm not talking about the accuracy of, bat speed in a game, because that is what it is. Doesn't matter if it's in a game or not, but how people are using data. And certainly that's a very real topic. It's one that's, top of mind for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And I get that, right? And so I think those are the big areas that, leagues and organizations are constantly evaluating, but those that have put a lot of effort towards that, I think, have gotten to a very good place in understanding, okay, we can check the boxes the way we need to in those three areas to feel comfortable in saying, if this is something that players and coaches want, and they see it as valuable, and it's a good addition to playing the game and getting better at the game, then there's not really a blocker there to move forward on it. And I think we're kind of in that stage where there's been a lot of research, there's been a lot of testing, there's been a lot of work in those areas, and we're starting to see leagues and organizations say, okay, based on all that, we're comfortable with it. And so the next couple of years, I think, will be the entry point into, okay, this is interesting. You're starting to see a lot more game data, and what does that mean, and what do you do off of that, and how much of a discrepancy is there? Because that brings a whole nother layer of kind of thinking through player development, right? It's like, okay, well, what we need to do now is really get ourselves in a practice environment to where these things are consistently matching up. And I think you see that happen in other tracking technologies and tools that are getting on-field data or game data. You can easily apply that on the other side.
I always thought that the data from that led to like trash cans and stuff.
Yeah, I think the thing that a lot of athletes, though, is, especially hitters, right? They're getting out, 7 out of 10 times, and that's good, So I think if you start changing something in an athlete, especially at the professional level, like, their jobs are on the line. So they want to make sure that, if it's in game and we're talking about swing plane efficiency, and we've been working on that forever, and I might not be barreling the baseball, but at least I'm not striking out as much, maybe a week later, you'll start seeing that guy take off a little bit. But if you don't have that data and seeing, hey, it's actually working, that guy could be, second guessing himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it becomes this compliment. I mean, for a long time, obviously, looking at video of game swings is a way to try to look at the two and see if you can find a difference. And, there's tremendous value in being able to see it also. But if you can quantify it, especially, I mean, listen, the higher you go in the game, the higher the level of the athlete, the smaller the discrepancy is, and the harder it is to find sometimes. I mean, we've seen this with metrics like hand cast distance, right? Like, so that's a very difficult thing to see on a video. And, 1 or 2 inch change there at an elite level athlete can be the reason why a struggle is happening or a quality of contact issue. But it's tough to see. So if you can use data to complement that with what you see on video, then again, you're just trying to condense the feedback loop and the iteration loop. And so if you can find the change, or say, oh, you know what, back in spring training, this is what the metric profile was. Now here we are in June, we're scuffling, we're struggling, we can't quite, use the data to see if you can find some differences there and complement that with video. And I think that's what we're starting to see. We've already started to see that happen at the pro level. And I think that'll just kind of continue to kind of iterate its way down as it goes. And I think you'll see the technologies move further and further into the background. I mean, technology is always going to get better. It's going to get easier to use. It's going to, it just kind of disappears, right? Like, our CTO, Mike Resser, always, uses this, like, get the tech out of the way, right? And that's what you have to do. And you get to this point where it's just there. It's working for you in the background. It's providing and popping up the information at the right times when, we know you kind of need it or want it, and you don't have to think about it too much. And we're still in the early innings of all of this, if you will, from like a performance technology perspective in baseball and softball, but that's what you're going to continue to see happen. And it'll happen through just continued product development from companies like us. It'll happen through collaborations where, technology providers will continue to come together, but we'll get to this place where it's just kind of there. It's working for you. You don't have to think about it a whole lot. And hopefully if you get that right, like it finds the right insights at the right time, and you're like, wow, that's great. Like, super helpful for me.
Yeah. Hey, CJ, before we let you go, I'm always intrigued with kind of the guys that geek out and develop this stuff. Can you maybe give us some background on those guys that are involved with your team on this?
Yeah. I kind of front and center on that would be, the co-founder of the company with me. So it's Dr. Buddy Clark. There's my son. Sorry, my 7-year-old streaking by here. Welcome to our work at home world. He's a mechanical engineering professor at the University of Pittsburgh, but sort of doubles as baseball dad, baseball coach, for all his kids, two of them going on to play Division I baseball and softball. And so he just really, as an engineer and a scientist, I'm like, there just has to be a way to have some information to make some better decisions with. And so he started on that journey, years before I met him at the University of Pittsburgh. And so as we got connected, he continues to kind of be the, call it sort of the lead innovator for us, right? Like, thinking about what's next, the research and work he does at the University of Pittsburgh, helping us just understand where things are going from a tech perspective. But having somebody who knows the game, knows the swing, he works with all of the pro clubs that we work with. He's got the nickname, the Swing Doctor, from a few different people, because he understands hitting, he understands the language of hitting, but he also really, really understands the science and physics behind this. And so we've built out a team off of that, that, is expertise and PhDs in mechanical engineering and in, R&D, computer vision, machine learning, obviously mobile and software development. And, I think I can speak to this across that team. This stuff's really hard, which makes it really interesting and exciting from an engineering perspective. And it's pretty front edge and cutting edge. And when you piece all this together, and so you have a sensor that's working, the way it's supposed to, then you have to understand our physics engine and data analysis, and then you have to be able to develop your user experiences to provide that. And you have to manage all of the user activity. It pulls a lot of pieces together and kind of get them all working in harmony. And so it's a rock star team that cross cuts a whole bunch of functional areas. You can't pull this off with just mechanical engineers, just data science, just app development, just back-end development. You got to have all of it. And so, they all love sports in different ways. Some of them, kind of growing up and coming up playing the game. Some of them just an affinity for sports across the board, but all of them a passion for engineering and science and, frankly, solving really hard engineering and development problems. And
I think there's a huge validation point to see how many people are involved with a product like this and how in depth it goes from that engineering side. And I mean, the tech world is crazy. It grows so quick, but I mean, these people are just, they're as smart as you're going to get. It's crazy how in depth that they go with it.
Yeah, I know. And it's, it's fun to be around them. I'm not a technical guy, right? But I've learned a ton through all of this, and I, find myself even kind of just secondarily consuming stuff, and I don't even realize. I'm like, actually that did stick, and I understand it a little bit more now. So But I put them all on. They're all the smartest people I know. It's super impressive what they're able to do and pull off, and we're pretty excited about where it goes from here, because we're going to continue to add to that team. We're going to add skills and capabilities, as we continue to grow and look into the future.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for letting us steal part of the morning. And hopefully we can get these guys back on, but we'll kind of check the leaderboard stuff and the Play at Home initiative, kind of see where that goes. And we'll let everybody know where they can go to see that kind of stuff and get the product for sure.
Yeah, it's great. I really appreciate you guys having me. We'll keep adding things to it, keep tabs on our social channels and diamondkinetics.com, and appreciate all the support. And again, thanks for the time and letting us talk, Diamond Kinetics and Play at Home and baseball. So,
all right, CJ, thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.